Hello. I'm not as enthusiastic as usual. In fact, I feel a little gutted. Welcome to Wednesday at probably 1:45. It's not very Wednesday at 1 today. What is it? Yeah, it's Wednesday at 1:41. 1 for 1. So the bummer is I was supposed. This like Siri, like go away. Siri keeps showing up and asking me stupid questions, and sometimes we have these wild conversations. I don't know what's up with her. Anyway, Wednesday at 1 didn't happen at 1 because we had technical difficulties, because there's a lot of weirdness going on around at the moment, and it's not just me. We were supposed to hang out with my friend Joe Sinclair, who's been doing wild and wicked things like running the Laszlo Institute for Irving Laszlo and giving talks to world leaders and people that he works. There's someone, I don't remember the guy's name, who's done a lot of cancer work and has written a book and has just been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize and all of that. But why am I telling you about what's not happening? I'll tell you what else isn't happening, actually. So we're going to get Joe on another time. What was also going to happen, that I postponed today to get Joe on because Joe's in the country, is the guys who put on the Gentleman's Grooming Show. And the Gentleman's Grooming Show, I don't even remember when it's on. I think it's November, mid-November sometime, but I'll put a link on. The Gentleman's Grooming Show, as you may not have guessed, even though it's a TK Maxx Ralph Lauren jumper, the Gentleman's Grooming Show is all about gentlemen and grooming. And these days it's all the rage to have, when we went last year, it was beer-delicious, and people were waxing moustaches like they were going into battle like Sikh warriors or something. But it's all about beards and moustaches and clothes and products and hair and, you know, pretty on the outside type stuff, which is all well and good. We may as well be, we may as well all be, or whoever's into those kind of addictions, Instagram-alicious and Facebook-alicious and all of that. But what we've been asked, or I've been asked to run mini workshops. I've got Men Flirt happening this Sunday. I think it's fully booked. Men Flirt is all about not flirting and being a fraud, not preening and being a pretty boy or putting on some sort of a look, not being false, not being a good act, not being a cheap line, not being a manipulator, not being a pick-up, what is it, artist? Or it begins with A anyway. Anyway, but Men Flirt is all about being the flirt, and it's about being the authentic you and letting the authentic you in alignment, not the fraud or the act or the nonsense, the authentic you shine through into the world. And what kind of slightly pisses me off about Men Flirt is there have been men going to men's groups for years, and they've progressed in so many amazing ways. I think Neil and I talked about this last week. Neil was one of the guys, and it was just absolutely amazing the way in 10 minutes, there's one part that we did that was a game changer for a lot of people. In 10 minutes, when it was your turn and not everyone has to sit in the hot seat, then it was like hot seat, and on your own mobile phone, we recorded you. I had a conversation, or as a group we had a conversation, and there was feedback given and suggestions made to adjust things like posture, tone, voice, the way that mouth moves, face moves, just everything about authentic presentation, which isn't about presentation anyway. It's about, you know, the way so many women have told me that what they find sexy about a man is not the act, is not the pumping up, it's more, I find this beautiful about women, is the innocent beauty. When a woman isn't doing beautiful, when a woman doesn't know she's being looked at, well, maybe it's not about men or women. I can't say that. Yeah, well, I guess I can talk about women and what men have said about women have said about men. It's when that person is being themselves and not putting on a show, and their light naturally shines out. And there's more to it than that for me. It's not just the light that shines out, because that's a bit hippie. And it's more about, I guess this is even more hippie, it's more about the vibe of the authentic person in alignment with who they are, without any shoulds or fears or past or what will people think or am I making an ass of myself. Without any of that, it's just like being, and that frequency, that vibe goes out. Not the I am desperate to meet someone, or I'm going to act cool so I get chased, or I don't care because blah blah blah, because I'm rich, or because I know famous people, or because whatever it is. It's the vibe of I am going out, and that gets attracted. Now, there was, I guess it's like tuning in a radio in a way. It's like, if I'm on Kerrang, I think Kerrang's a radio station, you know, hard rock type stuff, and I want Jazz FM, twiddle the knob and I get into the right frequency to attract jazz music. And I guess it's the same. It's like twiddling the inner knob to not be a knob anymore, or where's this crap coming from? Not being a fraud, not being afraid, not being a cheap act, but who I really am going at. Anyway, that was a by the way. And with all this hassle and heartbreak of having Joe on the phone and Bertie on the techno stuff, even Angela came up to try and sort out how do we do it with this other package, I don't remember what it's called. And it's like we couldn't get it going, and I'm going, oh, but we've done Wednesday at 1 probably for years. I'm sure it's over a year anyway, and now it's like so late. And I guess this is a bit of a theme that's been going on for me, especially for the last month, that I don't like. I don't like it so much that I can sit and look calm, and inside there's a part of me that's just fantasizing, smashing the room up. Was that a little bit over dramatic? And it's about acceptance. What a bore acceptance is. But I do find that the bottom line is, may as well accept and move on, rather than holding on to what didn't, or what shouldn't, or what hasn't, or what might have been, or what's better, or what's wrong, or what's unfair. Why feed the fires that you want to go out? Here's a warning for another one of my cheap lines coming up again. More energy to what you want to grow rather than what you want to go. And I used to be so attached to the picture of this is what I want and this is how it's going to happen. Otherwise, I'm not playing. And with that, it was really, I want to be in control, and I'm not going to be vulnerable, and it's going to happen this way, because then I won't be embarrassed, and I won't be humiliated, and I won't be rejected or abandoned, and I'll put on a good show, and I'm not looking at anything else. And the only outcome that I could ever have, I'm not one to point the finger, as you know, the only outcome that you could ever have, I believe, if nothing is going to change and we remain in control, is the best, if we're lucky, outcome that we've had in the past. So I have had to painfully, stupidly, vulnerably, out of control, have to think, I'm trying not to say bollocks to that, I have to be out of control, and I have to let life meet me. When I'm in control, not only will I get the same old story and the best off if I'm lucky, and nothing that I want, because that's new and therefore vulnerable, but also it's like, this is me, this is life trying to give me all the goodness and the gifts and the signs and the clues and the whatever it is, and then this gap between me, life, this gap between me and life is saying, this is the drama that I know to survive. Give me the drama and I will survive it. Then I'm doing what I'm good at, and I know how to do this, and I will be a good survivor because I will attract what I can star at. So drama, survival, let's keep going round in circles. And what I needed to realize is this is me, this is life, and they need to come together, which is very, very vulnerable, because there is no drama. There is just out of control. Things might be good, things might be bad, but whatever happens, at least I'm entering the merry dance of life, where life brings and I respond, and life brings, and sometimes I react through fear or whatever, and then there's a little bit of drama and it kind of disconnects, and it's like, ah, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. Let me spiel you the thank you for reminding me who I used to be thing. And this is in alignment with the whole thinking thing and being in control. The thank you for reminding me who I used to be is for most of my life. I've had a lot of dramas to survive in my life, and I got kind of good at surviving them. I mean, I think I've turned out half decent, and you can judge for yourself. But the whole thing about my thank you for reminding me who I used to be is who I used to be was in my head, looking for trouble, second guessing it, and trying to figure out how to survive what might happen in the future, based on what has happened in the past, and it's all kind of up here. Meanwhile, there's me, and it's all going on up here with my fantasies and fears, and life's going, what about me? What about me? And it's like, no, I'm busy up here in my fantasy world, and life's going, yeah, but we're trying to give you some clues about what to do. Be Columbo. Stop with this nonsense up here. Do the Columbo thing. And life's going, yeah, but what about me? So I learned to take a breath out of my head and out of the fears and fantasies. And as I breathe in, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. And then my head can settle back down, and I'm in my body and in my heart, and I'm present and I'm connected, and life can go, you're back, we can meet, and give me some clues. Like meeting Joe, like meeting all the best people. My wife, Bertie, all the best people, all the best things that I have met or that have happened in my life. My friend, check this out for pronunciation, Meritui Ratanambuabua, who's currently running in the elections in Fiji. Like, I ended up moving to Fiji and having the best time in Fiji because Mera and I happened to meet when I was a student in Southampton. Could I have planned that? Could I have thought that? Could I have organised any of that? No. Those were few minutes where I was out of my head and present and able to respond.
Neil, Ruben and Lau are watching.
No! Hat trick. Neil and Ruben made me cry last week in Southampton. Made me cry. You know, that's politically incorrect words these days. It's like they forced me to, you're not moving here until you've cried. No, it didn't happen like that. I was moved to tears. And crying has been a big theme recently, especially in, so this is closed group week. In closed group week I run the fourth Monday, fourth Tuesday, fourth Wednesday, fourth Thursday and fourth Friday closed groups, where the same men sit together in 6-month batches, generally for years and years and years, because we all know each other, we all know each other's lives, we all know each other, what's happening with each other, we all support each other. It's kind of like best friends, but unconditional, and the purity of this is who we really are, rather than, I don't know, being distracted by drink or shenanigans or sports or work or distractions. It's space for us to be us and to bring out the best of us together. So in one of the closed groups, and obviously I won't say which one because it's all confidential, even though that's just me being paranoid. It's amazing the way that pretty much every man in that group talked, because we have WhatsApp groups as well, about crime. And over the last, so we meet once a month, and between groups it's suddenly there's an email up saying, or a message in WhatsApp saying, I had a really good cry today and it was about this and this, or I was really surprised to be crying in the street and it was about this and this, or after all of these things happened I had a cry and it was absolutely brilliant to be able to cry and let it go by rather than hold on to it and survive it and just feel uptight and feel like crap. And to give ourselves and each other permission just by saying what we're doing, to be more authentic, to know that it's normal and okay to cry.
Nick Blythe says, sounds so good, how can I join?
What, the crying or the groups?
The group.
mensgroups.co.uk, and that's where you'll see where all the groups are on. Come to an open group first, and then let's talk, and we'll see if there isn't enough space. There's so many men want to join closed groups at the moment that it looks like I'm going to have to put on another one or two. And then closed group men come to other things, like the open groups are cheaper. I've got Men Flirt on Sunday, and First Dibs going abroad or camping or whatever it is. So yeah, crying. And the reason I cried watching Ruben and Neil last week was there was an event that was pretty much Neil's dream child about men expressing ourselves and our mental and emotional and historical states, and having space for us to be real and authentic. And if I remember correctly, it's like Neil's journey with MenSpeak has been magnificent, and Neil is a very different person to the person I first met a few years ago. And we've been on various stages talking about things and doing things. And Neil has got into dance, physical movement. And then I introduced Neil and Ruben. I've known Ruben for probably over a decade, I'd imagine, maybe two. I'm not very good at numbers. Ruben's been into dance for a long time, and we were just going to organise how men who dance can come in and sit in a group, and men who sit in a group can come and go and do 5 rhythms, and Ruben knows everything that's on. And then Neil and Ruben suddenly hit it off when they met and became best friends, which is absolutely brilliant. It's like, yes, you're allowed to have best friends after you leave school. How wonderful is that? And then they put on this improvisational show, and I'm not going to tell you too much about it because it's their private thing, unless they're willing to share it and put the video out. But it was about their pasts and what's happened and how they've turned out, who and how they are, and how they've turned it around, and the way that they danced and they moved, and it was supportive, and it was separate, and it was together, and it was in tune, and it was rough and tumble, and it was wrestling and fighting, and it was so many different things. It was so connected, and it moved the whole room to tears. It was in the Nuffield Theatre, which is a big enough place in Southampton, and everyone cried. And it was like being with a pop star, being with them, getting from the dressing room to have a little drink before I had to come and catch my train back to London. Everyone was stopping them saying, you have showed us that we are allowed to cry, or you have shown me something that I can take to my family and take to my children. I was saying this last night in the men's group, when there was a lot of, after refugee camps and all our horrible stuff that happened when I was a child. I remember my mother reminded me, and she said, look, you might want to cry. It's not bad to cry. It's okay to cry. But if you don't want to cry in front of people, then you can go to the toilet and lock the door and cry there. And it's like for a mother to give her son permission, rather than you cry and I will rush over to you and I'll smother you and I'll, suck the living daylights out of you and make it okay. No, she was just such a good woman to say, you take care of yourself, and here are some clues of how to take care of yourself. And we had some seriously desperate times, but the ways that I feel to allow things to pass, so I'm not in my head surviving and fantasizing and believing bad things and then forcing them to happen to prove me right so I can blah blah blah, is take a breath and come down here. Come down into your body and feel the meat that you're made of. Feel your bum or your feet on the ground. Feel your heart and the weight of it in your chest. Feel your throat open up. Feel your muscles relax in your shoulders. And laugh, cry, talk. How else do you let things pass? I've missed some out, surely. What do you write it out of you if that helps? But generally, name it. rather than shame it or blame it. Being in shame is holding on to things and feeding a belief that's very old and toxic and not good for you. So it's like the most valuable things that are said in men's groups, maybe outside of men's groups, some people might think, I can't say that, that's shameful. There are some very serious things that people need to tell me sometimes that they wouldn't say in a group, and that's absolutely fine too. So I see private clients. I'm moving into new premises. Well, they're not new premises, it's just my new full-time room in Camden, in the Para Castle. So giving up my therapy room in Waterloo, giving up my other locations, apart from the College of Psychic Studies, because it's nice and posh there, and I like running groups there. So I'm available in Camden for private sessions, but more than that, it's where things happen. It's where lives change. It's when men name it and no longer are owned by their shame or their story or their fear or their fantasy. It's like, name it, get it out, and then it's not part of you that owns you, and it's something that you have a choice with, and then let it pass. Breathe it pass, laugh it pass, cry it pass, smash things up if that's what you need to do. Exercise was a good thing for me. I remember I was so angry years and years ago about something, and it was an ongoing thing. So I joined a really rough gym in Bethnal Green that had been going since the war, with plush, I think it was EU funded equipment, and accidentally I left there a few months later carrying all these muscles that I didn't quite know where they came from, because I had so much crap that I needed to get out of me. So I exercised it out of my body, and it felt so good. So I've been all over the place with crying, communicating, moving and dancing. Moving is another thing. And this is something that I know both Ruben and Neil have talked about, which is like, move it out of your body. It's not just exercise. It could be dancing, it could be swimming, it could be anything. But letting things pass. It has been such a weird month for me, because I have been for so many, my first ever email address that I still think still redirects to me was not_into_emails@yahoo.co.uk, and no one got the message. They kept emailing me. So one of my big things is like, I have to be on top of my emails. And I remember thinking, oh, thank God a client's cancelled. Now I can get on top of my emails. Like, what's that about? Being a slave to emails? Being a slave to social media? Or being a slave to computers? What about connecting? One of the things that was said last night in the closed group, what about being available to have a conversation, even if it's on the phone, and connecting with a person, rather than, I can't, my computer says I have to do so many things, and then my gym says and my wardrobe says I have to look like these things so I can take these photos, and maybe have a quick Photoshop before they go online, because I am being the fraud. So to take it full circle and to bring it back to men flirt, do not be a cheap flirt. Be a beautiful, authentic person, not a pick-up artist, but a pick-me-up. And if I put out a true vibe about who I am and how I connect and relate to people and love, then that vibe will be rejected by everyone on a different vibe. And that's the way to do it. It's so much more efficient than flick left, flick right. Now, I've been blabbing for a long time, and I think I should go. That was just like, it's been a long time actually since it was just me speaking to the back of the camera, because they've been guests for a long time. And I have some really cool people on. Jan Day's coming on, she does dating and tantra and stuff like that. Judy Piaxis is coming on, who's now taking conscious cafe and conscious conversations, not just around the country, but around the world. And she's from Piaxis Publishing. I talked about, do you know what? I'm not even going to tell you about other people or anything else. Is there anything I should be saying about anything, Bertie, or am I done? Have I bored you? Have I babbled?
I'm taking care of business.
Oh, he's taking care of business. It's a good thing someone is. Right, so I want to end on a joke, but I can't think of anything funny. So I'm not going to end on a joke. I'm going to end on I hope you get some sleep, because I've not known a month like the last month for insomnia, not just with me, but with so many people around me, and I'm luckily surrounded by a lot of people with all the open groups and closed groups and the people I work with and my friends, etc., and very few people have been sleeping. Very many people have been vulnerable and out of control and not knowing what to do, and just overwhelmed. Overwhelm is the new big disease, it seems. So please accept, because you may as well. Breathe, because otherwise you'll keel over. And if you can, show up, feet on the ground, shoulders relaxed, heart wide open, twinkle in the eye, and have a cheeky time. I think that's it.